I am doing a presentation on the nerve tissue. The nerve tissue is made up by millions and trillions of little nerve cells called nerve cells. Here's a picture of one. You can pass it around. These are the dendrites, that's the cell body, and over here is the axon. And right here are the nerve endings, and this is called the myelin sheath, which protects your axon. When your nerve cells get a signal, it comes to the dendrites and then to the cell body, where it continues down the axon to the nerve endings. There is where there's a gap called the synapse or synaptic cleft. This is where, from the dendrites all the way to the nerve endings, the movement is electrical. But this is in this little gap called the synaptic cleft. It turns from electrical to chemicals, and then it turns to the next nerve cell. The nerve cells are very interesting because they are what make up nerve tissues. Many different cells make up different kinds of tissue, but the nerve cells are some of the most unique kind of cells. My dad, who is a nurse, told me that. He also says that if we did not have the synaptic cleft and all of our messages were electrical, then they would go so fast that they would end up stopping, and the messages wouldn't go anymore. He says that many cells do different and new, unique things, and there are many different jobs that each cell can do. Nerve cells are one of the most unique because they send messages all throughout your body. He also told me a little bit about the nervous system. Nerve cells help the nervous system by working as a telegraph wire, sending messages from one place to another. Many of you know about the telephone. Well, you have something like a telephone line in you. The nerve cells are what the electrical wires are, and the brain and the spinal cord are they're the center, or where all the electricity and controlling happens. Your brain, when the messages are sent up to your brain decides what to do about it and sends the messages back down. But for reflexes, such as if you get stung by a wasp, the messages would go up to the spinal cord and then immediately back down to wherever it was that this message came from. And then that would happen, something called a reflex. You would end up swatting where you were stung. That is what a reflex does. I am so glad that I found out so much about the nerve tissue. There was very much that I never knew about, such as the nerve cells are what made up the nerve tissue. I never knew that cells made up tissue until my dad told me. I think that the best thing about nerve cells is that without them, we would not only be able to send messages throughout our body, we also might lose our sense of touch. I'm glad for all of our nerve cells, all of our cells, big and small, nerve or not. They all have their own job inside of our bodies.
Yes. Very good.
Any questions or comments? Yes?
How did you memorize that whole thing without looking at the paper?
I didn't read it from the paper, I just make it up in my mind.
Oh.
I just got information from my dad in that book. He had this huge book that had a picture of the synaptic cleft, but I didn't bring it.
Did it take an hour to describe?
It took him quite a long time. Any other questions or comments?
Very good memory of new terms, new grammar. And you can tell she's got a picture in her mind of that nerve cell. She can see it.